And welcome to another episode of Who Gives a Hoot? I'm Luke, Kyle, John, Kyle, John. They'll be somewhere. And we've had a couple weeks off from the pod, but not a couple weeks off from games, which is a rarity.
We have a couple of weekends off from games.
Yeah. When's the last time we had a weekend game?
When's the next time we have a weekend game?
Yeah, that's true.
It's a long time.
So, Union Omaha had some, frankly, shit form, lost some games, but made it to the Mid-South as someone commented on Twitter, Eastridge, not Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Almost Georgia.
And almost Georgia. I think it's one exit away from Georgia.
You have to go to Georgia to get to Chattanooga if you're coming from Omaha.
That is also true. And have to stop by MB Roland. It is required. But Tim Howerton, Ranting Blue, Penguin Media, covered it beautifully on the blog, so we won't get too much into Union Omaha's. Is it fair to call it a trouncing? I think it's fair to call it a trouncing of the Chattanooga Red Wolves.
Yeah, I mean it was good. 5-2 was a nice scoreline this weekend for those of us who also are fans of the Kansas City Current.
Yeah.
So that was nice. Few milestones, I guess, to point out. Shido has become the all-time leading appearance caps person for Union Omaha. So he passed JP, so he is now all-time leader. And I mean, both Pedro and Joe are kind of getting close in the total goals as well to getting into the conversation. I think Pedro's 6th and Joe's 7th right now. So they're both scoring quite a bit.
Well, this was a score by committee game on, well, was it 2020 when Chattanooga played on a high school pitch?
I mean, it was 2020 when we also had to play them in a rescheduled game because this was a rescheduled game.
Yeah. No, it might. I think it might have been 2019 and 2020.
It would have been 2019. 2020.
Yeah.
I think they were going to start on a high school pitch if the pandemic hadn't delayed the season.
Well, I wish they'd gone back to the high school pitch this year because it was a better pitch than what we were playing on there.
Who knew that Wolves were grazers? And specifically, they grazed around goal boxes.
And slightly middle of the pitch, like just not a great pitch out there. They had lights this time. They did have lights. That was a nice touch, but they really need to rethink that pitch. As mentioned, we had 5 goal scorers, and we had some people who made some team of the week appearances. Blake Malone. He's been having a hell of a season.
With his second goal, not the first, like the team of the week said. But yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one for him. Like he's been having a great season, though. I will also say it's a little bit odd. I think they chose him for team of the week because he is also the one who was the man back when we did lose to NoCo and they had that second goal that we all kind of thought was offside. So it's redemption, a redemptive week at least.
We've learned with team of the week in USL League One, if you score a goal as a defender, you're gonna make team of the week. Goals scored count more than anything else. But what was it? Pedro and Joe?
Joe. Mm-hmm.
So three of our goal scorers there. And Pedro and Joe both had assists, or am I completely misremembering?
I think Pedro definitely did. Joe might have
Pedro
too.
did.
Yeah. For some reason I thought Joe did as well. But
maybe.
Pedro and Joe continually impress me on how they've kind of grown this season. Joe's hold-up play has become significantly better. He's my most improved player. And I'm excited to see how he ends the season. I don't expect to see him back next season.
Joe is how old now? Joe is 26. So
and he's got a cute dog.
Chance to still move up to championship at that age.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about it right now, but it does start getting into a question of if we move up to championship in 26, which is the thought,
2
kind
years.
of. Are there players who maybe want to continue on that are playing this year and say, "Oh, okay, I'll play one more year in League One instead of jumping up immediately, so that I can jump up with this team that I'm already familiar with"?
Well, don't we have to have a playable stadium by March 31st, 25? John, I feel like you know this one better than anyone else.
As far as us moving up the following season?
No, just to secure funding from the state of Nebraska.
Oh, the hell if I know. You two lived in the area longer than I have.
I don't live in Nebraska.
Well,
you keep yourself to that side.
I mean, with the new, I assume you're talking about the new legislature bill stuff that was just passed.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the team worked closely with them, so like they're gonna, whatever happens with that, I'm pretty sure the team will be able to benefit from it, just with how closely they worked with passing that. Yeah.
Well, I do think there's the possibility that guys who are signed to a 1+1 are more willing to stay, anticipating the rise to championship in 26.
Mm-hmm.
We
think
Kyle,
I think the conversation you're wanting to have is a conversation for next year. Next year, you start signing guys that are maybe thinking, okay, I can play well in League One next season, and then boom, I'm on a championship club right away.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we don't necessarily need to talk about it now. It was just something that I was like, it'd be interesting to know if players are starting to think about that a little bit, if they are playing well,
Yeah, well, I mean that's honestly one of those questions for players like Will Perkins, who just got loaned out to, what was that, Huntsville? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he wasn't getting a whole lot of playing time. He featured on the bench, which is, I think, more due to injury and international play.
He had a few cup games, Jaeger Cup games.
Yeah,
he started the season as we were still getting guys into the Metro.
Yeah,
I think, and getting everybody healthy and ready. Dion didn't start the season healthy. Ryan was a later signing.
Yeah. Like, I think he was definitely brought in as someone that could start, but as we built the depth and got the players we were able to, I think most notably Ryan Jiba there, wasn't able to quite break into the 11 or even the 18 all the time. So a loan move for him to play MLS Next Pro is definitely one of those. He was signed to a multi-year, if I recall. He's on a short-term loan, so we can recall him at any time. But him having the option for next year, getting some actual playing time, granted with a frankly dog shit team in MLS Next Pro in a frankly dog shit league. His loan was announced Friday. Is that correct? And
either that or Saturday. I think we might have announced it after I think Huntsville might have announced it, or I don't think Huntsville makes any announcements. I think all of that is done by the league. And I think they announced
he featured
it. We basically
for them
announced
Saturday.
it as he played the whole second half. Huntsville won only their third game of the year. And also with it being in Huntsville and us traveling to Chattanooga, I wonder if he made the trip and
then just went right there.
We played one less player on the bench that day.
Likely. I mean, that would have been a smart move, travel wise, not have to pay for extra travel. Have one of their scouts come pick him up. And that's again, seems like he was a fantastic guy, wasn't featuring a whole lot. I'm excited to see if his growth while getting actual minutes is beneficial to us, potentially later this season or even next season, as he gets, playing time with Huntsville against injured MLS players, the minor league of U.S. soccer. But
no note on whether or not he was signed to a multi-year deal or a +1. I'm just assuming it's a +1.
You assume that we announce anything about multi-year and what year it actually expires. Thinking to Yoskar Galvin, Bidu, also Tito, who was signed to a multi-year. We don't know when it expires. Multi-year in League One, I think typically just means 2 years, but 2 years maybe plus option.
A lot of those contracts tend to be signed mid-season, and they're counting the season that they were already under contract for some reason as part of it. I think that's the pattern I've seen.
It does seem that way, but furthering Union Omaha players going elsewhere. This one not for a loan, but for international duty, first team international duty. You got Zygo Lewis, who playing for Bermuda, which, as I recall, has a couple Canadian Premier League players in there. So, getting to play with what's technically a first tier players, plus we have an international player. It's the first time since Ricky, I think, we've had a guy who regularly gets called up.
Which is funny because I actually, it reminded me of Ricky, so I went, and FotMob still has Ricky as playing for us, because he made the Puerto Rico team again and was playing for Puerto Rico.
I think Ricky's playing somewhere in Spain again. But while it hurts our depth, it's still really cool to see our guys being able to represent their countries at the national team level, playing against some of the best players in the world on that national team stage. So, definitely a huge boost there, at least to potentially visibility for the club, not necessarily Bermuda being the most watched international side in the Americas, but it's still a cool ad to have for us.
Yeah, looks like he got he came in at about the 60th minute in their first game that they drew with Antigua and Barbuda. And then he played 80 minutes and scored a penalty in their draw at halftime against Honduras, which they then lost 6-1. But it was close for the first half.
Still better than famous USL League One international who played goal for Guam and what was that 13-1 against one of the Chinas.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Do we have any other news before we jump to our prognostication?
If we're prognosticating for Thursday, Unified team plays Thursday, but I figure we'll talk about that as we talk about that match on Thursday.
Yeah. I did not realize that was the case. I didn't know that they had announced that. See, this is the problem with not being on social media.
No, this will be our third year of having the Unified team, or Omaha representing with a Unified team. And honestly, I'm more excited for that on Thursday than I probably am for rematch against Spokane. The velocity coming hard to Omaha. And Luis celebrates at Werner Park. He's extra dead to me. Extra dead.
Has he been playing all their Jaeger Cup games? Because
he's been playing, I think, all of their games because he's probably one of their best players.
Yeah, I think he's been playing.
Against them was the Jaeger Cup game.
Yeah, I think he's been playing most, but also, and this is something that we have to understand, that currently we are the weird ones, and probably because of baseball. But everyone else plays these games on the weekend so far. We're the only ones who are like, oh, the next Wednesday, the next Thursday, we'll play it then instead.
And also, we're playing this game without a weekend game to follow. We don't play again until next Thursday. So I wonder if we play a full strength lineup. This will have been,
I could see it,
a week between games. We don't have a game for another week. It makes sense. And the next week is Madison. You don't want guys to get rust.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any reason for us not to play a full strength lineup here.
I could see Lapsley in goal.
I could see Lapsley in goal, but I don't consider Lapsley a not first team player. I consider him to be our second goalkeeper, but not not because of lack of skill, but just because Shido's captain. So a first team lineup, potentially Lapsley in goal. I mean, it's going to be during College World Series. It is the Pride match, so could be decently well attended.
College World Series isn't until Saturday.
Could have swore it started on the 14th.
Yeah, it's the 13th is when we play, isn't it?
Yeah, we play the 13th. They don't play Fridays anymore. 14th is going to just be the opening ceremony.
Okay.
And Saturday's the first games.
I could have sworn today was the 21st.
You could have sworn today was the 21st? Okay. we may need to talk.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen listening or watching, it is the 10th of June.
Yeah, time can get away from you.
Time is an illusion.
Time is
an illusion. It's all relative. So Spokane, they were a tough side for us to play against last time. At Spokane,
well, they are, and I want to put some caveats on that though, knowing that it could very well blow up in my face. That was our last game after playing 4 games in 11 days.
Sounds like you're making excuses.
Where we played Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. That Wednesday before is when we lost to Sporting KC.
120 minutes.
On the 120th minute.
I don't know, Kyle. That sounds like excuses to me. These players should be ready to fly 2,000 miles after playing 120 minutes and play less than 72 hours later in a match at moderate altitude and win.
I mean, I will say with that Spokane match too, it was another late goal. We were close to going into penalties with them too, right?
Yeah.
Like we have with every other Jaeger Cup game we've played. So
we are last in our group.
We are tied for last. Thank you very much.
I think we're last because of probably yellow cards, which is something we should also get into.
Wait, isn't goals scored the first tiebreaker?
So really, it doesn't matter it's just if you're not first in the group. So I don't even care if we're second, third, or fourth. Fourth, you can still move on to the knockout stage. If you're not first, it's literally the Ricky Bobby of American soccer.
Cougar in the back seat?
I mean, yeah, it's Jaeger Cup. Why not? Don't give me ideas. We have 5 more of these things.
Well, we only have 2 more at home because it's this and I think the next one are the last home games. So we played NoCo at home.
Yeah,
played Fuego at home.
We will have played the entire group at home after Thursday, and we just have Chattanooga at home. I'm sorry, and then we just have.
No, it's Chat.
No, it is Chattanooga at home. Yes.
Yeah, which we'll play on the 27th because other fun note about the schedule, we play the next 3 Thursdays for whatever reason. So we'll play Jaeger Cup against Spokane at Madison in the league, which is a massive game, and then home against Chat in the Jaeger Cup. So I don't know, that Madison game is starting to just look very big.
Well, Madison's a hot team this year, but do we think we can beat Spokane fully rested team? Guys have had one full weekend off. Looks like some guys traveled. Got their heads after a big win, just kind of more settled. They obviously came off after a couple of losses to hand out a good victory going into a weekend off on a bit of a high. Is their mentality going to be better than it was, or definitely better than it was against Spokane the first time, but better than it has been anywhere else this year?
I think it's possible that, and we were discussing before whether or not we see more of a full strength lineup, even though it's a cup game. And another reason why I think we may is because sour taste in our mouth from losing to this team the last time we played them. And we're getting to the point in the season where you got to start thinking about not just how you're playing week to week, but what you want these teams to remember as you get towards the end of the season and get to the postseason. And we may benefit from that now, and other teams might benefit from that if we start rolling on some of these teams because we're angry. This is Dom's first game to lose before the end of 90 minutes in a long time coaching for us, and we heard it a little bit with Charlotte. Some of the guys were saying it felt good to put 4 past those guys the last time we played them. We might see a little bit of that this week.
I mean, even if we don't have Steven back, which I'd still like to see Steven back because he's a good striker for the other players we have. His hold-up play is fantastic. But even if we don't have Steven back, we clearly showed against Chattanooga, and that was with Misael on a suspension, that we can score by committee, and we can score well by committee.
Yeah, I guess one thing about that, to go a little bit back to Chattanooga, is that it was Almish's first goal too for the club.
It was.
So we're getting people who haven't scored before or haven't had many goals before to kind of step up in that time,
Yeah.
Hope, and that can continue. So We'll see. I don't know where Steven's at. I almost wonder if he's ready to play a few minutes to do like 20, 30 minutes, if they'll just put him on the bench, maybe bring him on at the
85th
end.
minute sub sort of thing.
Yeah, and then maybe try and get him ready for Madison the next week.
I could see that.
I could see that.
Him coming on to score penalties at Werner Park would be a nice change of pace if he scores one.
Mm-hmm.
But like 85th minute sub is, I think, the soonest we'd see him based on the length of his injury at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he's re-injured himself in training, because we've heard multiple times that he's been back training, and then we just haven't seen him. So, the other thing I think I mentioned earlier is yellow cards. Yellow cards and red cards between Jaeger Cup and League One regular play. They carry over. Why?
We talked about this last time. I think it's just simply because they didn't want to change the rule book.
But how many yellow cards did we have against Chattanooga?
I think 7.
7, I think.
And what's
we have no player on more than 3 at the moment.
But how many would they be? How many would they be on if we didn't count them between competitions?
That's too hard to look up.
Yeah. You're my data scientist here.
I don't have those
put
types
the data in for me. I just query it. And I just told you that querying it is too hard right now, and I don't want to do it. I'm glad my boss doesn't watch soccer.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is still employed somehow.
Depending on when you're listening to this. Who knows how long in the future I might be dead.
Mm-hmm.
True. It does worry me, though, because when you're playing the 90 minutes and it doesn't stop at the 90 minutes, and you don't want to go to that extra penalty, I feel like the physicality is brought up a little bit. There's a little bit more tenacity to just try and end it. And so you end up with more yellow cards in cup play than you do in league play. I'd be interested to see if I'm right in my random assumptions. Probably not. But seeing that sort of statistic would be interesting to me, because if you're pulling more cards,
I can give you that one. I've got that one.
Give me that one.
Let's see. Our first cup game, we had 0 yellow cards. They had 1. Our second one against Spokane, we had 3 yellows. They had 1. And then our one against Fuego, we had 3 yellows. They had 4. Which, I mean, compared to our other games, I would not say that's. Yeah, that's definitely not above average, because like we just had 7 against Chat. We had 4 the game before that. We had 5 in an early game against One Knox, or like 2 or 3 is about a lot of the other ones. So I guess the average for a league game would be higher.
Okay. Now I know.
And if I'm not mistaken, our 3 cards in the last game were all scored by players that during league play are typically coming off the bench too. So you've got guys that are putting a little bit more hustle behind it that are not getting as many league minutes.
Yeah. So what point does it,
as long as we don't pick up more red cards, we can't do that anymore, because that game was going to be fine, I think, until we picked up a red card. So
yeah.
Don't do
Misael, because it was a double yellow, shouldn't be on suspension for this game or the following. And that also leads me, which you guys might have the answer to it. Does a yellow card or a red card from league carry over to cup play?
It should, and vice versa.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, if that's correct, if the cards carry over, yeah.
But again, Misael had 2 yellows. He's fine. He's eligible no matter what.
Yeah. But that's just something that kind of occurs to me is typically with a cup competition, you don't have to worry about a red card carrying over to league.
Yeah, but typically cup competition also isn't just within your league, so we're not really working with a canvas that we're used to here.
Yeah, and generally you'd have some type of rules for like, oh, in the 8 game group stage that you're playing, there would be maybe 3 yellows would give you a suspension, right?
Yeah.
Instead of what, 5? Is that what it generally is?
Yellows for the league? I think it's 7.
Oh, it's 7?
7?
Okay.
I think it's 7. We've got a rule with consecutive games played without a booking that erase 1.
Okay.
Well, okay, let me ask the question here. I feel like we kind of, we're not going to talk lineup, but we've already kind of mentioned it. We've already in previous pods discussed what we think our starting lineup is. Hasn't really been proven wrong. What do you think? What do you think score is going to be? Do you think we finish it in normal time, or do you think we end up in pens?
I'm just gonna go with pens because I hope I'm wrong.
I say if we rotate, I think it'll go to pens. But if we play our starters, I think we'll win like 2-1, 3-1 in normal time.
So by playing starters, do you include Shido there over Lapsley?
No, I would say with Lapsley, but everyone else is a starter. Then I would say that'd probably be the case. But I don't know. I mean, I understand wanting to, get someone like Holt more experience, get someone like Knapp more experience, because Dom definitely seems to like Knapp quite a bit. Puts him on as a sub often. So I understand wanting him to, just coming out of college, get more experience. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did do some rotation, but well, we'll see.
All right. So, in other news, Wallace Lapsley is apparently a saint. He is ready to be venerated by the Vatican, and canonized, all that fun stuff, because not only does he respond well to all of the bants and the apologies, but he's also taking care of early born infants at the medical center. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not a way to get more playing time, I don't know what is. Not that his penalty saves have not spoken enough for him, but now he's out in the community doing serious good, just being a genuinely decent human being. I don't know if that's what Union Omaha is all about. Actually being out in the community, doing good, creating a lasting impact. I don't know.
I hope it is. I hope it will be.
All right. You guys got anything else that we skimmed over, or you wanna go with?
Yeah, I mean, just the schedule's weird. So if you keep abreast of it, if you're wanting to go to games or watch the games, it's weird.
Yeah, it gets better in July, except for a weird except for a game at noon in October. But after that, I think we actually do play every game in Omaha the rest of the season on Saturdays after this stretch of Thursdays.
We might have like one Wednesday, but yeah, it's pretty close. I think
it's the school day one.
Oh, Wednesday at noon.
Yeah, it's like October 2nd, like the first week of October.
If you are a season ticket member, note that Wednesday at noon, the team does have a ticket exchange where you can exchange those tickets for tickets to be used at another match. Or something like that. I've seen the link. I've never used it.
Yeah, it is. Every other game is on Saturdays. There are some away games that are on different days, but yeah, every other actual game is on Saturday except for the stupid Wednesday noon one. Which I say that I'm going to be able to make it because my schedule can do that, but I know others that will not be the case.
Yeah. You kind of got to put PTO in ahead of time for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Unless you guys got anything else. I have one question for you. One additional question. Going to be a curveball. Who gives a hoot?
We do.
We do.